in IMF loan, for example. He allowed everybody to fulminate about it. We were arguing, those who were in universities were arguing about it, even though if at the end of the day he's going to do what he will do, but he allowed you to vent. And I think that's psychological. It's about social psychology.
But this dialogue is an opportunity to take a step back and consider a variety of perspectives. Nothing is off the table.
Because in that before consultation of the IMF, they warned that doing these things will lead to dislocation in the economy in the immediate term.
We're here to raise questions, discuss a variety of issues, but the goal is to come up with solutions to the challenges faced by our country.
Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida is arguably one of Nigeria's most admired and influential leaders in recent history. This year, the IBB Legacy Dialogue has put together this discourse to celebrate this unique enigma and leader of leaders in a most unique way.
Our theme is a new paradigm, a new generation, and new ideas. Our esteemed speakers today will explore the new realities faced in Nigeria.
I know and I can remember very well that there was a lot of criticisms about his governance structure.
But he pretty much built this capital. If you want to complain about the government, you want to complain about Abuja, it's because IBB built it. So you're welcome.
If IBB was to bring in IMF loan, for example, he allowed everybody to fulminate about it. We were arguing, those who were in universities were arguing about it, even though if at the end of the day he's going to do what he will do, but he allowed you to vent. And I think that's psychological. It's about social psychology.
But this dialogue is an opportunity to take a step back and consider a variety of perspectives. Nothing is off the table.
Because in that before consultation of the IMF, they warned that doing these things will lead to dislocation in the economy in the immediate term.
We're here to raise questions, discuss a variety of issues, but the goal is to come up with solutions to the challenges faced by our country.
Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida is arguably one of Nigeria's most admired and influential leaders in recent history. This year, the IBB Legacy Dialogue has put together this discourse to celebrate this unique enigma and leader of leaders in a most unique way.
Our theme is a new paradigm, a new generation, and new ideas. Our esteemed speakers today will explore the new realities faced in Nigeria.
I know and I can remember very well that there was a lot of criticisms about his governance structure.
But he pretty much built this capital. If you want to complain about the government, you want to complain about Abuja, it's because IBB built it. So you're welcome.
If IBB was to bring in IMF loan, for example, he allowed everybody to fulminate about it. We were arguing, those who were in universities were arguing about it, even though if at the end of the day he's going to do what he will do, but he allowed you to vent. And I think that's psychological. It's about social psychology.
But this dialogue is an opportunity to take a step back and consider a variety of perspectives. Nothing is off the table.
Because in that before consultation of the IMF, they warned that doing these things will lead to dislocation in the economy in the immediate term.
We're here to raise questions, discuss a variety of issues, but the goal is to come up with solutions to the challenges faced by our country.
Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida is arguably one of Nigeria's most admired and influential leaders in recent history. This year, the IBB Legacy Dialogue has put together this discourse to celebrate this unique enigma and leader of leaders in a most unique way.
Our theme is a new paradigm, a new generation, and new ideas. Our esteemed speakers today will explore the new realities faced in Nigeria.
I know and I can remember very well that there was a lot of criticisms about his governance structure.
But he pretty much built this capital. If you want to complain about the government, you want to complain about Abuja, it's because IBB built it. So you're welcome.
If IBB was to bring in IMF loan, for example, he allowed everybody to fulminate about it. We were arguing, those who were in universities were arguing about it, even though if at the end of the day he's going to do what he will do, but he allowed you to vent. And I think that's psychological. It's about social psychology.
But this dialogue is an opportunity to take a step back and consider a variety of perspectives. Nothing is off the table.
Because in that before consultation of the IMF, they warned that doing these things will lead to dislocation in the economy in the immediate term.
We're here to raise questions, discuss a variety of issues, but the goal is to come up with solutions to the challenges faced by our country.
Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida is arguably one of Nigeria's most admired and influential leaders in recent history. This year, the IBB Legacy Dialogue has put together this tele discourse to celebrate this unique enigma and leader of leaders in a most unique way.
Our theme is a new paradigm, a new generation, and new ideas. Our esteemed speakers today will explore the new realities faced in Nigeria.
I know and I can remember very well that there was a lot of criticisms about his governance structure.
But he basically pretty much built this capital. If you want to complain about the government, you want to complain about Abuja, it's because IBB built it. So you're welcome.
If IBB was to bring in IMF loan, for example, he allowed everybody to fulminate about it. We were arguing, those who were in universities were arguing about it, even though if at the end of the day he's going to do what he will do, but he allowed you to vent. And I think that's psychological. It's about social psychology.
But this dialogue is an opportunity to take a step back and consider a variety of perspectives. Nothing is off the table.
Because in that before consultation of the IMF, they warned that doing these things will lead to dislocation in the economy in the immediate term.
We're here to raise questions, discuss a variety of issues, but the goal is to come up with solutions to the challenges faced by our country.
Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida is arguably one of Nigeria's most admired and influential leaders in recent history. This year, the IBB Legacy Dialogue has put together this tele discourse to celebrate this unique enigma and leader of leaders in a most unique way.
Our theme is a new paradigm, a new generation, and new ideas. Our esteemed speakers today will explore the new realities faced in Nigeria.
I know and I can remember very well that there was a lot of criticisms about his governance structure.
But he basically pretty much built this capital. If you want to complain about the government, you want to complain about Abuja, it's because IBB built it. So you're welcome.
If IBB was to bring in IMF loan, for example, he allowed everybody to fulminate about it. We were arguing, those who were in universities were arguing about it, even though if at the end of the day he's going to do what he will do, but he allowed you to vent. And I think that's psychological. It's about social psychology.
But this dialogue is an opportunity to take a step back and consider a variety of perspectives. Nothing is off the table.
Because in that before consultation of the IMF, they warned that doing these things will lead to dislocation in the economy in the immediate term.
We're here to raise questions, discuss a variety of issues, but the goal is to come up with solutions to the challenges faced by our country.
Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida is arguably one of Nigeria's most admired and influential leaders in recent history. This year, the IBB Legacy Dialogue has put together this tele discourse to celebrate this unique enigma and leader of leaders in a most unique way.
Our theme is a new paradigm, a new generation, and new ideas. Our esteemed speakers today will explore the new realities faced in Nigeria.
I know and I can remember very well that there was a lot of criticisms about his governance structure.
But he basically pretty much built this capital. If you want to complain about the government, you want to complain about Abuja, it's because IBB built it. So you're welcome.
If IBB was to bring in IMF loan, for example, he allowed everybody to fulminate about it. We were arguing, those who were in universities were arguing about it, even though if at the end of the day he's going to do what he will do, but he allowed you to vent. And I think that's psychological. It's about social psychology.
But this dialogue is an opportunity to take a step back and consider a variety of perspectives. Nothing is off the table.
Because in that before consultation of the IMF, they warned that doing these things will lead to dislocation in the economy in the immediate term.
We're here to raise questions, discuss a variety of issues, but the goal is to come up with solutions to the challenges faced by our country.
Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida is arguably one of Nigeria's most admired and influential leaders in recent history. This year, the IBB Legacy Dialogue has put together this discourse to celebrate this unique enigma and leader of leaders in a most unique way.
Our theme is a new paradigm, a new generation, and new ideas. Our esteemed speakers today will explore the new realities faced in Nigeria.
I know and I can remember very well that there was a lot of criticisms about his governance structure.
But he pretty much built this capital. If you want to complain about the government, you want to complain about Abuja, it's because IBB built it. So you're welcome.
If IBB was to bring in IMF loan, for example, he allowed everybody to fulminate about it. We were arguing, those who were in universities were arguing about it, even though if at the end of the day he's going to do what he will do, but he allowed you to vent. And I think that's psychological. It's about social psychology.
But this dialogue is an opportunity to take a step back and consider a variety of perspectives. Nothing is off the table.
Because in that act before consultation of the IMF, they warned that doing these things will lead to dislocation in the economy in the immediate term.
We're here to raise questions, discuss a variety of issues, but the goal is to come up with solutions to the challenges faced by our country.
Arise, O compatriot, Nigeria's call, obey to serve our fatherland with love and strength and faith. Our heroes past shall never be in vain. To serve with heart and might, one nation bound in freedom. Peace and
Good evening and welcome to the IBB Legacy Dialogue platform. Please confirm you can hear me loud and clear. Control room, can I get confirmation that you can hear loud and clear?
Yes, we can hear you, sir.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the second edition of the Oktoberfest Dialogue organized by the Ibrahim and Miriam Babangida Presidential Library Foundation. And we are excited to have you once again to join us on this very special day, the 63rd birthday of Nigeria, and indeed a wonderful evening to spend together discussing a very, very critical theme around Nigeria and the way Nigeria needs to operate. You and I would agree that everything we need to do now as we speak is to focus on how to make Nigeria better, to make Nigeria more attractive, especially to the large population of young people that we have in Nigeria. And at this point, I would like us to bring in the synopsis that sheds some light on the foundation and the dialogue in particular. So Control room, if we can have the videos, please. Thank you. We cannot hear you now. Please increase the volume.
Speakers today will explore the new realities faced in Nigeria. It is my great pleasure to welcome you all to the Ibrahim Babangida Legacy Dialogue. And I'm delighted that we have been able to widen participation by making this a tele-discourse, so we can involve fellow citizens far and wide in shaping in public discourse and deepening our democracy. As you know, the Ibrahim Mariam Babangida Presidential Library is here to promote a culture of appreciation for the labors of our nation's past heroes. But today, we're also looking to the future. Our theme is a new paradigm, a new generation, and new ideas. Our esteemed speakers today will explore the new realities faced in Nigeria, from the economy to foreign affairs to global climate change. We're here to raise questions, discuss a variety of issues, but the goal is to come up with solutions to the challenges faced by our country. At last year's dialogue, we were looking forward to the presidential elections and praying that Nigeria would have the kind of government it deserves, it needs. A government that is strong but compassionate, open and accountable, and that brings justice and opportunity for all. Our foundation is a nonpartisan foundation, so we neither endorse nor oppose particular parties and politicians. But we wish nothing but success for all those charged with the great responsibilities of stewarding our nation. And we understand that difficult decisions must be made. President Tinubu's administration certainly cannot be accused of shying away from such decisions. As promised, the government has ended the fuel subsidy that Nigerians had taken for granted, but put a stop to the central bank's distorted foreign exchange rate. And as predicted, these measures have led to economic hardship, with prices skyrocketing, not only for fuel, but also for food and other basic necessities. The president acknowledged last week that people are being hurt by this, but he insists that there is no other way to secure a more viable future for Nigeria. Perhaps he is right. And what we all hope that we'll be able to look back on these measures as a causing short-term pain for long-term gain. But this dialogue is an opportunity to take a step back and consider a variety of perspectives. Nothing is off the table. From alternative economic thinking to creative ideas about how to make the most of the current government's policies. For example, the president has pledged to use the savings from the cutting the fuel subsidy to relieve the pain and stimulate future growth. He announced 500 billion naira package to improve food supply, ease transportation cost, and boost manufacturing, with conditional grants to at least 1 million small businesses. This is certainly something very close to my heart, as a capacity as a chairman of the Better Life Program for the African Rural Women, which of course is focused on empowering women to create their own business. As you know, young people in our country cannot simply go out and get jobs because the jobs are not available. That means we must do all we can to promote the launch of a new SME, and indeed the micro and the macro SME, to form the grassroots to the flourishing Nigerian economy of the future. So I look forward to hearing your ideas on how to relieve the hardship of our fellow Nigerians, while also building the foundation of future growth across the economy, from agric to technology and everything in between. Of course, we will consider foreign affairs, and in particular, the growing instability in our region. There is now serious talks of ECOWAS intervening militarily in Niger to restore the democratically elected government. So we have an opportunity to discuss it, if that is wise, and a possibility for alternative. We should also acknowledge the bigger picture and the fact that Niger is not alone. A string of West African states have fallen to coups d'etats in recent times. Mali, Guinea, Burkina Faso. So we must face the possibility that yet others could follow. The tragedy is that most of us thought we had left this kind of thing behind. The recent history of democracy in Africa has not been completely smooth sailing. But despite many setbacks, the general trajectory seemed to be a move from tyranny, dictatorship, towards popular democracy. Indeed, the Ibrahim and Mariam Babangida Presidential Library Foundation exists to help young Nigerians understand their history and the role of people like my father in paving the way for democracy. So it is incredibly disheartening to see so many of our neighbors seemingly going the wrong direction. It is also important to note that it is not a case of the old guard returning to power. In fact, these coups have been driven by the anger and frustrations of the younger generations. They are understandably upset that democracy does not seem to be working for the betterment of the people. They see that their countries are blessed with abundant natural resources, fertile land, water, sunshine. And yet, still, people are hungry. They are frustrated that there are no jobs, no opportunities, no future for them. And so when powerful military men claim they can do better, the youth are drawn to their side. It is essential to understand the underlying causes behind these coups if we are to restore democracy and prevent the spread of military dictatorship. Beyond national and regional concerns, of course, we must also consider global issues. And paramount among them is the issue of climate change. If it is allowed to continue unchecked, climate change will only exacerbate our economic problems, leading to further political instability and even international conflicts. We are already seeing the devastating effects of climate change in Nigeria. In the north, wind erosion has swept away houses and farms and intensified the effects of deforestation and drought. In the south, flash and seasonal flooding caused by climate change is threatening our cities. Urgent action is needed. 2 years ago, we passed the 2021 Climate Change Act, and plans have been announced for a carbon tax policy. But our economy remains dependent on oil and gas. And as we know, for most Nigerians, the problem is that they cannot afford to buy the fuel they need. This means action on climate must be combined and harmonized with economic development. In any case, we cannot do it alone. Climate change is a global issue, and there can only be a global solution with the most developed countries taking responsibilities for having done most of the damage. Nevertheless, countries like Nigeria must be part of the global conversation and ensure that our voices are heard. These are just some of the issues that our countries face today, and that we will discuss in more details over the course of the discourse. I'd like to thank our speakers for agreeing to participate, and for all of you joining the conversation. I am confident that we will leave this dialogue feeling enlightened and inspired. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Our convener, Her Excellency Aisha Babangida. Please, ladies and gentlemen, kindly confirm that you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you, sir.
Thank you.
Sir.
Thank you very much. I had to change the device because I thought I was not getting the best connection. So I hope this is much better. So I guess straight, we have on the agenda this evening two critical issues that we need to address. And of course, I want to think that this will plan for the next 40 minutes or so, because we're already 16 minutes into the hour. And I believe that we are on the right path. All of you would agree with me that it's Nigeria's 63rd birthday. And of course, we have a new administration. We listened to the president earlier in the day, giving us a message of hope and telling us all the good things that Nigerians should expect for the transformation of the country. I want to believe that each and every one of us will benefit largely from the so many programs that the government is putting in place right now to make sure that we are in the right space and in the right direction. But I will not be doing this alone this evening. I have distinguished guests already invited in the house to be part of the conversation. And of course, I will be bringing them in on one after the other so that we can get to meet them. The first guest that I have in the house this evening is Dr. Helen Emore. Dr. Emore is joining us from Lagos. She is of the faculty of the Pan African University in Lagos, member of the faculty, and she will be speaking to us largely on the issue of the circular economy and the small medium enterprise. I don't want to take so much time in reeling out the very interesting profile of some of the speakers so that we don't take too much of our time. But as you get to listen to them, you will understand why we have brought them in as the experts to have this conversation this evening. So join me as we bring to the virtual lectern Dr. Helen Emore. Dr. Emore, you're welcome to this evening's conversation.
Thank you very much, sir. Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Nigeria.
Good evening and welcome on board.
Thank you.
I also want to bring...
Happy Independence to all.
Happy Independence. I want to also bring in Dr. Murtala Adoki Muhammad, the one named after the late former head of state, Murtala Muhammad. And I'm glad that he's able to join us this evening. He just came back from the UN General Assembly, looking spark and clean. One of my former colleagues at the UNICEF. And please put your hand together as we bring in Dr. Murtala Muhammad, the one I call M.A.M. Ma'am, it's good to see you. Thank you for coming in at such a short notice. I am still expecting to see Dr. Faith Nwabwa, who is also an expert in building SMEs in Africa. And he has told me that he might be joining us slightly late. So I hope that before we get to speak with him, he would already be in-house to be part of the conversation. As you are all aware, we are going to be focusing our attention this evening on the small and medium enterprise. And we will also look at the development of climate change and clean energy, the need for us to think Nigeria first and always as we walk through the pathway that other nations have gone through to become developed nations. We are no longer kids in the block. We are 63 years as a nation, and we need to begin to think Nigeria, think Africa, and think development in a very unique way that will put us on the pathway to greatness. In the last couple of years, we have gone through a cycle of challenges across many facets of life, especially in our economy. And as most of you would agree with me, the economy of any nation is often hinged on its ability to maximize the potential of its own young people, especially the entrepreneurs. And there is a lot of opportunities hanging out there for entrepreneurs, especially those that have chosen to see the climate change and the energy transition as a wonderful opportunity on the pathway to making Nigeria the nation that we all be proud of. At this point in time, the Nigerian government announced that 500 billion naira has been put aside as funding for the promulgation and development of the small and medium enterprise. And that we as Nigerians will begin to see transformation because every young Nigerian with beautiful ideas and the ability to transform those ideas into laudable projects that can create employment opportunities would be supported. With the hindsight of the challenges that we have with the ease of doing business in Nigeria, with the hindsight of the challenges that we have with access to credit, with the hindsight of the challenge that we have with employability, with young people across the radar of Nigeria, we need to think seriously about how to make this laudable initiative of the government to be something that we'll all be proud of. And I would like to start with Ellen Amore, who I know has traversed most parts of the country, Nigeria, looking to build the capacity of entrepreneurs and young people under several of her various pet projects. And I believe that tonight she's going to share her experience with us, and she's going to give some good, credible hints to the government on how best to ensure that these projects come to life in good time. Dr. Ellen Amore, please come on and let us know what you have for us.
All right. So, Soji, I am probably, I don't want to believe I'm in the minority, right? But first, let me thank the organizers of this conversation and everybody who is listening. I have traveled around Nigeria, and I think my last trip was to Kano last week. I went to Tiga area. Yes, I went to Tiga area and I drove through Shiromawa. Hey, I hope I got it. Anyway, I got to Shiromawa and, and I saw the most beautiful landscape I've ever seen in Nigeria in a long time, you know. And that area is like the food basket of Nigeria. And I was telling the driver that, oh, now this place reminds me of Makarfi in Kaduna. And he said, oh, Makarfi is just around the corner. I said, oh, same landscape. That's so, how come Kano is not promoting tourism? You should have seen the hills. I thought I was in East Africa or South Africa. I didn't know I was in Nigeria. And I said to my host that I'm definitely coming back. I'm not coming back alone. I'm coming back with my children. I need to show them how beautiful Nigeria is. And I see tourism potentials here. I went to visit a rice mill in the hinterland, very close to Tiga Dam, and I saw what they were doing. That rice mill employs over 1,000 direct employees, and then you can imagine thousands of others they employ indirectly. Why am I saying all of this? I say this to say that Nigeria is a really wonderful country. You know, when they say good country, great nation, good people, that is us. But unfortunately, because of an organizational theory called isomorphism, right?
Yeah.
That's similar thinking. I hear people saying Nigeria is bad. Why you never Japan? And I'm like, I don't wish to be anywhere else but Nigeria. I'm looking at everything that is happening all over the world. And the place I want to be is Nigeria. And the thing I keep telling myself every day is, Helen, what can you do to make Nigeria better? What can you do in your village? What can you do in your immediate, even if you can't solve the whole of Nigeria's problem? If I fix a major problem in my own village, I would have done well. If I fix a major problem in my community, I would have contributed to the progress of Nigeria. I don't want to wait for any government. And so I believe very strongly that for any policy that this government has put out to work, we have to believe in it. We have to play our part in making it work. So if the government has said they want to give out money, 500 billion to SMEs, where is the agency that we want to disburse it through? What's the framework? Do I believe it will work? Yes. I believe it will work. And do you know why I believe it will work? Because during COVID, the government then supported small business owners and households with funds. They made us fill the forms online. They screened online. We submitted, they called, in fact, when they called me to say, is this Auntie Helen food? I said, that, I just dropped it. Say you won the COVID, I just dropped it. I said, they don't come again, all these 419 people. Say, no, be me, when I go see. The lady called again and said, Madam, please don't drop this time. I am actually calling you from NISA Microfinance Bank. Did you make any application? I said, yes. Okay, so please don't drop. Just give me your email address. I will send all the details to you. And this is not a scam. I sent the lady my email address. She sent me the documents, and that began a journey of enrolling on that program. And I got the funding. And why did I apply for that funding? Because I had taught hundreds of, almost thousands of entrepreneurs who participated in one government program or the other. And they keep saying it doesn't work. So I'm saying, okay, the next ones they do, I'm going to apply. Let me see the hurdles firsthand that these people are going to. After all, I also own an agri business and I qualified to participate, and I did. And guess what, Soji? I did not know anybody in that organization. I did not go through any intermediary. I got the funding. I got 5 million naira. I got 5 million naira during COVID. They gave us moratorium and gave us a very, very reasonable payment plan. And it worked. And so what's my message today? If we don't go away with anyone, let's go away with the message that, one, we have to have faith in Nigeria. No foreign investor is coming if we are not investing. Two, when the government puts out policies, those of us who know should investigate it and find out how we can help other people get it. Do you know, because I did that thing, because I applied for that program, I was able to tell other people that, listen, this thing is real, go and apply. And some of them got it. Some of them, so we have to,
Thank you, Ellen. Let hold your thoughts. Hold your thoughts while I go to Dr. Adogi Mohammed. Dr. Murtala Mohammed, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, excellent. Dr. Mohammed, you've been working around development for quite some time, including your time with UNICEF before you started your current venture, and you just came back from the UN General Assembly where you were talking about climate change adaptation, energy transition, and the issues around entrepreneurship. What do you think Nigerians stand to gain, especially young people, when we take the full advantage of the promises of the world around climate change and climate change adaptation and the energy transition? We just saw what happened with the movement from petrol to, gas, because of the high cost due to the subsidy removal. A lot of people transited from using petrol and diesel to using gas. Of course, the people in the climate change environment will still tell you that gas is an hydrocarbon and that it's not particularly free of the problem of petrol. But the truth is that so many entrepreneurs have emerged from that space. I got 3 of my Itado petrol small generators, 4.5 kVA, 6.5 kVA, 7.5 kVA, all converted to LPG. And I saved like 50% of my energy costs in some of my small businesses just by that transition. And I have young people that I've never known before who came to bring those ideas, selling those, converting the equipment to make those machines more efficient and to support my business. What do you have to say along those lines and along the government's policy to have an energy transition plan that takes us between now and 2030? Please unmute. I think you are still muted, Doctor. Yes, now you are muted.
Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to be part of this wonderful session. And congratulations to all Nigerians celebrating the 63rd anniversary. And also for IBM Foundation for putting this together. This is really commendable. And from time to time, we should come together and brainstorm and come up with workable solutions, most especially around the challenges that is affecting Nigerians. I love the idea you mentioned, an example you provided on the issue of energy transition. You see, what the young people stand to get is about 1 to 3 things that they need to do on their own. They need to do a lot of research to see what is working in line with energy transition and what is not working and how can they apply it to their own businesses. Then 2, young people need to do a lot of collaboration and partnership with others that have succeeded in doing that, because there's power in number. You can't stand alone to some extent and win. At times you have to work with others. Then 3, there should be a kind of an opportunity to access funds by the young people, because even when they do the research, when they partner, they might have a challenge around funding. So there should be like a donor or federal government funding mechanism under the Climate Change Council, where young people can access it and facilitate and also accelerate the attainment of the energy transition plan. So this is what the young people stand to gain. But when it comes to the government themselves, I think we are not doing enough in terms of energy transition, because at the moment, what we have, it's only a policy statement that is available in their website of Climate Change Council or the Energy Transition Platform. But beyond the policy, there are certain practicable, workable, and tailor-fitted solutions that we're supposed to see coming from the federal government. Most importantly, from working with governors in that system. What I learned in the last 20 years of my work in the development sector is that if we want to drive development, we should engage the state governors. Development should happen at state level, because federal government has no state. If you look at, for instance, federal government have only the bigger role in terms of the policy coordination, sharing of money. I just heard that they share about 1.1 trillion in August. On that fact, 1.1 trillion to 36 states. So anything you want to do in terms of policy implementation, in terms of strategic advocacy, in terms of delivery result, in terms of monitoring and measuring result, we need to work closely with governors in the 36 states. The energy transition plan that is available on the website, how many states in Nigeria were able to domesticate this plan? How many states will you say that they have this plan in line with their peculiarity? Let me give you a good example. We have the 11 desert-prone states in northeast and northwestern Nigeria. 11 desert. These are the states that have been affected by desertification. And desertification have been sending them to the north central. And we have about 15 states affected by flood from the southwest, south, and southeast. So 15 states, 11 states, put together about 26 states that they will move to north central Nigeria in the next 10 to 20 years, because flood will take over the southern state, desertification will take over the northern state, and the only available state that will be for Nigeria is the north central state. Does the non-central state have the carrying capacity to carry Nigeria? So if you talk about addressing the impact of climate change, then we need to domesticate whatsoever we are doing at state level. Let every governor have in its own budget and allocated the resources in addressing the impact of climate change. Now, we have the Climate Change Council, which is at the federal level. We have the Climate Change Council at state level. Go to Jigawa, go to Yobe, go to Sokoto, go to Zamfara. See how impact of climate change is affecting their agricultural productivity. And also, when you look at the nature of the nature of insecurity we're having in Nigeria, at times we coin it to be religious crisis, tribal crisis. No, I strongly refer to it as natural resources conflict. It's a natural resources crisis. Niger State alone has close to about 7 million hectares of land. Niger State alone. And that Niger State, it's like maybe a central location for most of these are the drivers of conflict. When the military guys pursue them from the southern Nigeria, they move to Niger State. When they pursue them from the northwest and northeast, they move to Niger State because we have a thick forest corridor that connect Niger State with the southern Nigeria, connect Niger State with northern Nigeria. But take Niger State as an example. How much do they put in their annual budget? 2023 budget. How much is in Niger State for addressing the impact of climate change? And when you go to Sokoto, Zamfara, Kebbi, Katsina, how much do they allocate in the annual budget for fighting climate change? Zero. So we are not ready yet. What we are ready now is to talk, to make noise, to organize workshop, to organize seminar. We come together, we make noise, and we disappear. But the practical solution need to happen at state level. And until and unless we take this struggle to the governors forum. We have the Nigerian Governors Forum. Check their website. Do not have any policy or platform or issue on fighting climate change. None. So what at times when we had the climate summit in New York just last week, about 10 days ago, a lot of countries were sharing their success stories. Our Minister of Environment was not even there. Minister of Agri was not there. So our focus in the UN General Assembly was more about trade and investment. We have the Minister of Trade and Investment that she was there. So all our effort is bringing foreign investors with crisis in Niger and Sokoto, Zamfara, Kebbi, Yobe, Adamawa. You want the foreign investors to come? And you don't have a plan and budget for addressing the crisis? Thank you so much, Soji. I don't know whether I'm talking too much.
Ma'am, you are on point and you are on fire as always. But please hold the fire while I go back to Helen so that she can help us manage the fire process a little bit. Helen works every day or most of her day with young entrepreneurs, mentoring them and getting them, to focus on developing every little bit of space that we have in Nigeria and bring it. And she's not just, someone who does that. She also has, projects of her own. She's the producer of anti-Helen oil, honey, and the rest of that. And so she's a practitioner. So that's why I like talking with her when we talk about business. Helen, what do you think along the line of the circular economy? What can we do better? We see the challenge that MAM has described as a nation, described us as a nation that has not focused on climate change adaptation. Rather, we are focused on investment and bringing in foreign investors. Even if these foreign investors come, we just heard that SmithKline Bisham, a multinational, left Nigeria last month. A couple of others have left before that, Dunlop, Michelin, and the rest of them, because we no longer have, economic trees that provide the raw material for rubber. So what can we do differently? What can we do in the circular economy that can, engage our young people? Because this is the era that we need to make a difference. Thank you, Dr. Emoray.
Okay, so my attitude to Nigeria, right, is that we need more systemic thinking at all tiers of government. As you're aware, I've worked very closely with government. And so instead of trying to solve our problems in isolation, our leaders have to use the systems thinking approach, knowing that we are an ecosystem. You cannot fix one thing and leave the other. For me, I think that's always been the problem with Nigeria. We fix one thing, we focus on one aspect of the system and expect the rest to fix themselves. It's not going to work like that. If Nigeria is going to succeed, everybody in government has to be doing their work the way they should be doing it, with clear metrics, with clear performance standards, and clear milestones. That's number one. Number two, as far as the circular economy is, Dr. Mohammed has spoken a lot about the underperformance of government in preparing Nigeria for climate change, right? However, that's the government level. So there are things government can do, there are things that people can do. Because I work with people, I focus on the things that the people can do. And I believe that as a community, the more people talk about what government needs to do, the more they get them to focus on it. But while we are waiting for government, what should the people do? The people have to do something. And so for me and for the ecosystems I belong to, we focus on getting people to do what they can do. So when it comes to circularity and circular economy, we are thinking, what are the things that we can do beyond just trying to save the environment? We see circularity as an opportunity to increase capacity of entrepreneurs in Africa. We see it as an opportunity to create access to resources at a lower cost. Because there are some materials we throw away regularly. There are some materials we don't even use well, we waste them. Once entrepreneurs become aware of circularity, whether it is in fashion, whether it's in furniture, whether it's in agribusiness, right? They begin to do things differently. And I have testimonials of entrepreneurs, some on the Oxfam program, some on programs sponsored by Golden Mon, some on programs sponsored by Stanbic and EDC. They all come to the institution having no clue as to what circularity is. And we let them know that, look, circularity is a principle that one protects the environment. But for us in Africa, it also gives us an opportunity to extend our businesses. Somebody making furniture joins the pieces together, uses them to make bags, uses them to make t-shirts, uses them to make notebook covers, right? And she starts a whole new line of business. There's a lady in Mina, Pado. She was making reusable sanitary towels. I would say, hey, she thought she was in sanitation business. By the time we consulted with her, we said, no, you are in a circular business because you are reusing materials. You are enabling ladies to reuse materials, especially those who can afford it. We are also producing a lot of materials that can be used to other things. Now, she has a very big business that is producing all sorts of products from waste, from reusable materials. So for us, we are encouraging entrepreneurs to focus on what they can control, which is in this environment, how can I use materials better? How can I produce responsibly and encourage responsible consumption so that we reduce the pressure on the environment? That is a whole different ecosystem entirely. So I believe that the more we do that, and we also put pressure on government to do what they have to do, our economy will be better for it. So more young people are becoming aware of circularity and they are doing better. So there's opportunity there.
I agree with you. There is opportunity in circularity. And for those of you that are not familiar with the word circularity, it is the term that is being used to describe recycling reusable items and the ability to continue to create a better world by ensuring that we do not unreasonably exploit our environment without thinking about reuse and recycling in order for us to take full advantage of the resources that we have in our country. And these links to both the people that are working in the environment, where please mute if you are not speaking so we are not distorting the conversation. Thank you. And as much as possible, this circularity is directly connected with our NDA, which is the Nationally Determined advise the pathway for climate change transition and for our, ability. I mean, you remember that we have the Great Green Wall with the intention of planting millions of trees across our Sahelian region. We have the project around clean energy by moving from our trucks from using diesel to using compressed natural gas CNG. We have so many other transition plans in the energy platform by using electric vehicles, by building recharging points along our national highways and the rest of that. But the issue that comes to mind for me is, how do we as a nation see the opportunity that we have? We are already a nation that is a major producer of hydrocarbons. And even if the entire world leaves us behind with our hydrocarbon, are we going to drink it? We're certainly going to be here with it for quite some time. So we need to begin to think about how we will make very responsible use of it, very clean use of it, very focused use of it in such a way that even when the entire world might have moved on, we might still be stuck with it and be in a position to continue, to responsibly use it in such a way. I mean, I keep giving an example. During the beginning of the Ukraine and Russian war, the German government went back to their coal mines and began to use coal for heating, because for them, energy means life. If you don't provide energy in the winter for your population, people simply die. It's not the same thing as what energy would mean to somebody in Zamfara or somebody in Abeokuta. Because for them, for that particular person, maybe energy, all they need is energy to cook their food. Maybe all they need is energy to run, a small mill to grind their millet in the farm and produce pap that they would use to feed their children. So energy dependency and energy needs cuts across demands that can be very strong in some areas. And so when the United Nations and the United Nations Environment Program and the Climate Change Commission speaks about responsible use of energy and energy demand, I strongly believe that every African nation needs to think Afrocentrically around how to manage, especially for those of us that are original producers of hydrocarbons. So what are your thoughts, ma'am, around these ideas?
So thank you for bringing up the issue of this energy, and most importantly, for livelihood, and also for the large population we have in Nigeria. When I did my master's, the thesis was on climate change adaptation and tree management, and how the poor people are adapting to the impact of climate change in relation to trees management. And I come to realize what we call the energy ladder. The energy ladder is a kind of in such a way that the higher the level of your poverty, then the worse the kind of energy you use in your household. And now, if you rank Nigerians, most especially with this increase in poverty, rapid growth in population, and the demographic crisis we're having, you realize that the poor people are now using cow dung. Cow dung is the shit from cow.
From cow?
Yes, shit from cow. It's what the poor people are using as energy. In rural community in northern state that I visited, physically I saw this. And they told me that they transited from using kerosene to firewood. When kerosene become very expensive, they move to firewood. When firewood become very expensive, they move to charcoal. When charcoal become very expensive, they move to cow dung. But the rich, the higher class are using gas. The higher class are using gas. So you can see the ladder in which we use our energy in line with our population. And poverty is the major driving factor here that determines which kind of energy you use. With the hydrocarbon that we're having, depleting in the Niger Delta. What stopped the government from channeling it? Since from 1999, all the government were having is the same issue, the same story. They're going to channel the energy from the Niger Delta down to the states, and the poor people will have access to it. And because of lack of energy for cooking in our household, some households go to sleep without even food to eat because they lack the capacity to adapt or also to kind of buy the energy to use. So the strong advocacy here is that to go back and look at our energy transition plan, because when I study the plan, there is no way where we properly capture how the poor people in rural community, the most marginalized, the vulnerable, will adapt by using this energy transition plan. So we should go back and review the plan. And for the sake of this engagement, I come up with 5 strong issues, because I want us at the end of this engagement, we should come up with like a policy brief, or the IBM Foundation should have a media engagement, maybe tomorrow or next, and present a 2-pager summary of what we discuss here, and let the newspaper publish it, so that at least our conversation should not end virtually. The ministers, the governors should be able to read what we're saying here. If they are not here physically or they are not here virtually, we should take the message to their doorstep by publishing it into some newspapers that IBM met with a lot of stakeholders in Nigeria through virtual meeting. And we come up with the following recommendations. So as far as energy, as far as climate change response is concerned, I have 3 solid recommendations. 5, 1, we need to review our energy transition plan and capture the needs and aspiration of the poor people in our rural communities. Number 2, we need to conserve our natural resources by engaging the people at the community at the rural area to also play their significant role. There's what we call indigenous knowledge. Let's use our indigenous knowledge and conserve our natural resources. Number 2, we need to restore our ecosystem. The Great Green Wall, I'm still expecting an independent review report on what are the impact of the Great Green Wall. We spend a lot of billions on the Great Green Wall. I'm yet to read an independent report review that clearly show the result and the impact of the billions of naira we put in the Great Green Wall. Then number 4, we need to have clearly simple way of adaptation and mitigation that address the issue of climate change. And number 5, policy and advocacy. Who should do what? In terms of policy and advocacy. And lastly, we have the drivers of these 5 points. For we to deliver on these 5 points, we need to focus on 3 C's. C number 1 is coordination. Who is doing what? Who is coordinating what? We still have Ministry of Environment. In Ministry of Environment, we still have Department for Climate Change. We have Climate Change Council. In other sub-ministry, we have Unit for Climate Change. So we need to strengthen our coordination. Number 2, we need to work on our collaboration.
That's number 4, Doctor. Round it up.
Nigeria love working in silos. So we need to work on collaboration. And the last one is coordination. So coordination, collaboration, and consolidation. The result we achieve. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. At this point, I'd like us to round up. And I would like anyone who has any question, please put it in the chat room so that in case we need to ask our experts here to shed any more light on it as we round up in the next few minutes. Thank you all for being very patient and for being very, very coordinated in your understanding and in your engagement with the conversation this evening. Just like Dr. Murtala Adogi Muhammad had said, definitely the outcomes of every of our conversations and our dialogue at the IBB Legacy Dialogue are always documented and shared, not just with the press, but also with the policy holders. So we are definitely going to be doing that in the next couple of days. And if you follow us on our YouTube channels and on our Instagram handles and on our LinkedIn, you will be able to follow on some of these conversations, especially for those of you that are silently listening but would like to contribute your thoughts along the lines of the discussions that have been held today, please consider the fact that we have very limited time to have this conversation. It's just a 1-hour dialogue, but the conversation always continues online. Conversation always continues on Instagram and on Facebook, and we will always ensure that our YouTube channel continue to play the video for you to be able to see some of the nuggets and to take the issues forward. At this point, I'm seeing that a lot of people are dropping in their LinkedIn handles and the rest of them, but I see a question here. For desertification mitigation, the government of Nigeria should mandate all forest research institutes to produce a variety of tree seedlings and establish collaboration with wood dealers in each of the states where trees are being cut down. These institutes should also be required to plant 5 trees for every 1 tree that is cut down. Furthermore, the Forestry Research Institute should oversee and monitor the initiative across all states. This is from Eluzona Anisiobi. Thank you very much, sir. That's a fantastic suggestion, and we will take it forward in our further conversation and recommendation to the Ministry of Forestry, to the Ministry of Environment, to the Great Green Wall, and also to the other institutions. I see Abdurrahim Abdurrahman says, thank you for very insightful input into where we are as a nation and where we are headed. My question is, with the current state of the economy, do you think we are heading in the right direction as a nation, looking at policies and implementations? And then someone said we need to have a local definition and understanding of climate change and what it means for the people. Then someone, Ibrahim Yusuf, and that's from Agama Emomotimi. From Ibrahim Yusuf, he said, do you think all these issues discussed on energy and climate change can be possible, especially in the northwest and northeast states of the country, with this volatile condition of insecurity? Just like Dr. Mohammed had said, insecurity is largely caused by contests and argument over natural resources. The farmer and the herder, they are all competing for one resource, the land. Whether the land is green or is brown, both farmer and the herders will always want the lush and the greener part of it, and they will fight over it no matter, what you say to them. So these are issues that are also fueling the crisis that we talk about. The bandits that we see today, apart from the issue of education, apart from the challenges that they bring to the table because of, some of the wrong indoctrinations that they have had over the years and their inability to sponsor themselves and see themselves as being useful to the nation. The fact that they need to move from Zamfara all the way down to Benue during dry season before they can get green pasture already gives them sufficient stress for that journey to begin to, be extremely difficult to manage along the pathway, because they are human beings, just like the rest of us. So if you need to move animals across, thousands of kilometers and then bring them back, and you met someone on the road who is complaining that you have overrun their farm, you are not likely to be smiling at such people. So that is the source of the majority of the conflict that we have. And we have already suggested a lot of solutions along these in previous dialogues on this. And we're definitely still going to have more dialogue along the lines of security and the issue of banditry and insurgency in subsequent dialogues that we'll be holding. I think quickly I have Olamide George, who says, I think the dialogue should be given more coverage and publicity. Climate change affects every geographical zone today. This should be on national scale. I learn a lot all the time. Dr. Olamide George. Thank you, Dr. George. Climate change and adaptation may be a route to poverty if we do not educate our people. Dr. Timi Agama, thank you. In my opinion, it will take longer for our country to be conscious of the environment. Look at the artisanal mining, the oil industry, the clean air quality, the lack of ESG of companies and corporations. This is coming from Ibrahim Ismail. Aisha Apu says, for environmental sustainability, environmental regulators should be strengthened to implement, for implementation of policies, especially with regards to EIA, and that's environmental impact assessment and environmental audits for green and brown fields. That's her. So the local government authorities in the affected states have a very important role to play in addressing the certification and climate change, especially through the governance agenda of the planting and landscaping. That's from Stephen Nwoye. And finally, from Dumesi Oyogla, he said, we need to promote technologically driven solutions to harness our solid minerals and push for alternative power solutions to solve energy deficit within the regions. Thank you, everyone, for their contribution, for your active contribution. All this will be taken into the communique, and I can assure you that going forward, we will definitely make every effort to ensure that Nigeria and Nigerians benefit from the conversations that we have had this evening and the subsequent ones that we will be inviting you to, such that we can propose solutions, make recommendations to government, and let everyone who is supposed to be on the same page with us understand that Nigeria is all that we have. Even if we jackpot, the tendency is that we will jackpot. So let us understand that Nigeria needs all of us, and we need to keep the conversation in the front burner, especially with climate change. Flooding is everywhere. New York was flooded yesterday, and you saw how helpless a nation as big as America became underwater. So it is no one in the world that can claim to be completely immune from the challenges that we are having. You can see what is happening in some parts of the South and already some parts of the North. We need to have all hands on deck to be able to deliver results. At this point, I'd like us to think about closing by congratulating each and every one of us for being part of the events this evening. The Miriam and Ibrahim Babangida Presidential Library Foundation is extremely grateful to the panelists this evening, Dr. Ellen Hemoria of Sanchia Partners and Dr. Murtala Adogi Mohammed, my very good friend of the scientific lab. And I think that each and every one of us for also standing through and waiting and being part of this conversation this evening. You have extremely exceeded our expectations. Thank you so much. And we are grateful. Thank you, and God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Please mute so that we can hear the closing video. Thank you, Tolulope. Thank you. Thank you, Treasure David. Thank you, Ngozi Oyewale. Thank you, Akim Sule. Thank you, Yunusa Musa. Thank you. Thank you, Farida Din. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Ibrahim Yusuf Dukau. Thank you, sir. Thank you.